Before the news cycle overtakes me again, I just want to, for the record, talk about why the endangerment finding mattered so much for health and climate. On February 12th, the Trump administration scrapped the endangerment finding, the scientific principle that underpins the U.S. government's ability to regulate health-harming greenhouse gases and to combat climate change. There's this Q&A put on by the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, back and forth between Mary Rice, Mark and Catherine Winkler, Associate Professor of Environmental Respiratory Health at Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, and the Director of Center for Climate Health and Global Environment, Sea Change, discusses the importance of the finding and what the health impacts could be without it. The endangerment finding serves as the legal and scientific basis for the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's authority to regulate greenhouse gas emissions under the Clean Air Act. Issued in 2009, the finding determined that carbon dioxide, methane, and 4 other greenhouse gases, quote, threaten the public health and welfare of current and future generations, quote. And once the EPA formally acknowledged that these gases were harmful, it gained both the authority and the responsibility to curb emissions from vehicles and power plants that paved the way for regulations that have cut pollution, slowed climate change, and protected health, especially in communities that have long been overburdened by near highways, power plants, and industrial facilities. Repealing the endangerment finding attempts to strip the EPA of its ability to fight climate change. But the scientific evidence that greenhouse gases endanger health is overwhelming. The EPA's claim that it has no obligation to regulate greenhouse gases is at odds with both the mission of the EPA to protect health and the science. The courts may well block this attempt to undo the endangerment finding and the policies built upon it. The question was, can you provide context about how the revocation of the endangerment finding fits into the broader landscape of the Trump administration policies? We watched the federal government cut funding for health research focused on marginalized or disadvantaged groups, dismantle scientific capacity at federal agencies, and undermine the data and institutions that protect public health. The administration recently announced that it will no longer consider the value of the health benefits of breathing cleaner air. These benefits are well described, like lower risk of childhood asthma, improved heart health, and longer life expectancy. On the other hand, the administration has said it will continue to consider the expected cost to polluters of complying with environmental regulation, because it just costs these billionaires so fucking much to make sure that they're produced. Oh my God, he wants to kill us all. Anybody that can't afford respirators and fancy filters in their townhouses in the sky. At every turn, the administration is creating more favorable policies for the polluters and stripping away protections for public health. What are the potential short-term health impacts of the revocation of the endangerment finding and the long-term impacts? Revoking the endangerment finding ignores the large scientific body of evidence demonstrating how climate change harms our health and how greenhouse gas regulations protect us by reducing unhealthy, even deadly, air pollution. In the short term, if power plants are not required to cut greenhouse gas emissions, and if vehicles are not required to improve fuel efficiency, they will release more dangerous air pollutants like fine particulate matter, PM 2.5. These particles, along with other pollutants that come from burning fossil fuels, are especially toxic and are linked to increased risk of early death and chronic heart and lung disease, with higher exposures in our neighborhoods close to highways, power plants, and industrial sites. In my own work, I found that children highly exposed to traffic pollution have 3 times the odds of developing asthma compared with those living farther away. I've also seen evidence of lung scarring in adults exposed to traffic. In the long term, greenhouse gases harm public health because their effect on climate change causes significant public health risks, including from increased temperatures, more frequent and severe wildfires, and more severe weather events like hurricanes and flooding. These exposures have harmful health effects, especially for kids, older adults, and communities with fewer resources to prepare for, respond to, and recover from climate disasters. To name a few, hotter days are linked to more preterm births and hospitalizations for lung and heart problems. Warmer conditions create more ground-level ozone air pollution, which can worsen respiratory disease and increase the risk of death in older adults. Hot, dry conditions that extend for longer periods of time increases the risk of wildfires, which trigger asthma attacks and increase mortality. Wildfire smoke attributable to climate change led to about 15,000 excess deaths from 2006 to 2020, according to a recent study. Climate change fuels more extreme storms and flooding, which could cause drowning and disrupt hospitals and people's ability to get medical care. Studies have shown that reduced emissions from power plants and traffic leads to lower mortality among older adults, longer life expectancy, improved heart health, and reduced risk of kids developing asthma or having severe asthma attacks if they have asthma already. Rolling back the endangerment finding puts all of this progress at risk, which is the point. I don't know how we can expect any more from administration who's led by a man who actually says, when there's a huge blizzard hitting America's Midwest and East Coast, said, whatever happened to global warming? I guess if the ice caps melt, I guess there's going to be more beachfront property. You idiot, there will be less beachfront property. You fucking moron. Let's think about this like a third grader. Let me see. The ice caps melt, so the water raises. And what does the water do to all the beachfront property that already exists? It just kind of raises right over it, which means less beachfront property. Will somebody please explain this to the stupid fucking president we have? I had to say all that, put it on the record. It's incredibly dangerous. I would like to see the research community continue to respond through op-eds, media interviews, and policy briefs. I'd also like to see them support the legal community in framing evidence-based, health-focused arguments for potential court cases aimed at requiring the EPA, whose mission is to protect human health and environment, to regulate harmful greenhouse gases. While federal progress in regulating greenhouse gases is being delayed, progress continues at the local and state level. The public can get involved locally in reducing greenhouse gas emissions by pushing for more walkable and bikeable neighborhoods, better public transit, healthier plant-based lunches in schools, more urban trees and green space, and investments in renewable energy and EV transport infrastructure. These changes improve our health by reducing our reliance on fossil fuels and can prioritize communities that have historically carried. I mean, yeah, but he doesn't care because, if you give me $1 billion, I'll let you write your own regulations, is what he told Big Oil when he met with them at Mar-a-Lago in 2024. And apparently they gave him the money and he's letting them write their own regulations. Obviously, we all want to move past fossil fuels. Even Big Oil is investing heavily in green energy because they know that their time is also finite. So anyway, thanks for watching my videos.